Today we're going through some excellent, easy to find alternatives to some of these highly allocated bottles right behind me. What's up everybody? My name is Joe. Welcome to Average Joe's Whiskey. And today I got some great alternatives to some of the more popular allocated bottles I have sitting right here. Maybe they're hard to find in your area and you just want to get something similar. Maybe you have a bottle but you don't have a backup. So you want to save it for special occasions. Or maybe you're like me and you just like the flavor profiles but you like to try new stuff. I tried to make sure that everything on this list is either easy to find on the shelf or available online. I tried and I think I succeeded for the most part. Either way, I think it's an excellent list and I think you will too, I hope. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so first up, an alternative to Weller Antique 107. So this is one of the more popular bourbons from Buffalo Trace. 107 proof, it is a wheated mash bill, and it's kind of tricky to find alternatives for because there aren't a lot of wheated bourbons out there in that 107 proof range. You got Maker's Mark Cask Strength, which comes in about 110-ish proof. And even though it's also wheated, it's got a quite different flavor profile. So the best alternative that I could come up with is actually Pursuit United. So Pursuit United is from Kenny and Ryan at the Bourbon Pursuit podcast. These guys are awesome. Not only are they godfathers of bourbon media, but they make really good whiskey. They blend really good whiskey. So it's made up of 3 different mash bills from 3 different states. One of those 3 mash bills is wheated. So there is wheat in this. So a couple different reasons I think this is a great alternative to the Weller Antique. Number 1, it is 108 proof. So 1 proof point off from that Weller Antique, but it's also very sweet. It's very sweet, and on the nose you do get a little bit of those kind of floral notes that you get from Weller Antique 107. The nose comes off very fruity, not exactly like a Buffalo Trace product, but could be somewhat reminiscent. But yeah, the nose comes off very fruity, very sweet. It's almost like a fruity cotton candy. Man, this is just so good. Kenny and Ryan can blend their balls off, dude. They are awesome at this. This is batch 8 CD. So if this is not available in your area, you can order this on Sealbox. They deliver, very reasonable price, $65. So I think retail price for the Weller Antique is $50, but I see this thing marked up all the time for $100, $150, even $200 in some places. $200, are you kidding, for a Weller Antique? Come on, man. Just buy a Pursuit United, 65 bucks, delicious. Super sweet on the palate. It's got some brown sugar. It's got some fruity notes. It's very easy to drink, almost too easy to drink. All right, next up we have an alternative to this Russell's 13 here. I love Russell's 13, but it's hard to find. This is the only bottle I have. I had to wait in line quite a while to get this one. $150 retail, $150 is what I paid for this one, but you will regularly see it on the secondary market for like $300, even $400, which is crazy. Especially when you can go to the store or online and get yourself a Bardstown Discovery 11. So I see this for sale anywhere between about $130 and $150. It is made up of 73% Russell's 13. 13-year-old wild turkey. How can you go wrong? Now I have to say, it doesn't sip quite as old as the Russell's 13 does, which makes sense because there is some younger bourbon in there, but it's incredibly delicious. You don't get as much oak on the nose as you do with the Russell's 13, but there's this really prominent cherry note that kind of jumps out on the Discovery 11 that is much more subtle in the Russell's 13. But yeah, this is just cherry vanilla heaven. Sounds kind of gay, but that's what it is. And that cherry vanilla really carries through onto the palate. There's some brown sugar, a little bit of baking spice. This is an amazing whiskey. So when the Discovery 11 came out, I got a bottle, took it home, opened it, and I immediately went out and bought another bottle. I think it's that good. Bardstown has been doing some really great things over the past year, and I'm sure they're gonna keep it up going into 2024. All right, next up we have Stag. This is batch 22A. This was my favorite batch of last year, of the 2 batches that I actually was able to get my hands on. I also got a 23C, and the 23C was just not on the same level as this 22A. This 22A was fantastic. This one comes in at 132.2 proof, and Stag can be kind of tricky to find alternatives for. You've got your Jack Daniel's single barrel proofs. Those are always available around 130 proof, and those are great, those are excellent, but they don't sip quite as sweet as the Stag does. So my favorite alternative that I could come up with for the Stag is actually this Sealbox 9-year Cask Strength. So Sealbox put out this 9-year Cask Strength last year. It was batch 6. It sold so well that they almost immediately put out a batch 6.1. So this is the batch 6.1. This was available on their website for a while. They put it on before the holidays and it was still available well into January. I think it finally did sell out now. So apologies if you cannot find this on Sealbox anymore, but it is a great bourbon. And keep an eye out on the Sealbox website because I'm sure they'll put out something similar at some point this year. So if you weren't able to get your hands on this one, there'll be more options in the future. But because I found out this bottle is no longer available, I'll give you a couple more alternatives in just a second. But man, this Sealbox smells so good. So this bottle has really evolved. When I first opened it, it drank a little hot, but every pour I've had since then has just gotten better and better. And now that it's past the shoulder, it's really starting to open up and it's just like a flavor explosion. So on the nose, this has a lot more spice than your typical batch of Stag. A lot of citrus too. Like it's very orange peel and cinnamon, a lot of brown sugar too. All right, let's try it. Wow, I'm actually getting a lot of bubble gum on the palate, which I really like. And that's not a note I've been picking up typically on this one. Maybe my palate's doing weird things today, but whatever it's doing, I like it. I'm not sure it's better than the Stag batch 22A, but I do honestly think it's better than the 23C batch of Stag. So keep an eye out for that one. But if you're not able to snag a bottle of the Sealbox, another great alternative to the Stag, this would be a good alternative to the Russell's 13 too. K-Luke. This is batch 7. This is the first larger batch that they did. I believe this is a 10-barrel batch. I think their first 6 batches were, I don't know, something like 4 or 5 barrels. Keep an eye out. I'm sure batch 8 will be coming out soon. They release these like 2 to 3 batches of K-Luke a year. They are pretty quick at cranking out batches, but all of the batches that I've tried have been excellent. It comes in at 116.4 proof, right in the wheelhouse of the Russell's 13, a little bit lower than the Stag, but man, this thing is just so good. The nose comes off incredibly sweet. It's a great example of a bright fruit nose. Like it's more of a raspberry, strawberry than your typical cherry. And you get a little bit of baking spice on this one too. All right, let's try it. Those bright fruit notes just continue all the way through the experience. From the nose, front of the palate, back of the palate, onto the finish. It just stays sweet the whole way. I really like what they're doing at K-Luke. Very impressed. All right, and I figured I'd give you one more alternative to Stag, since both the Sealbox and the K-Luke can be a little on the trickier side to find. And that is good old Larsen Barrel Proof. This one is batch B523. This was, honestly, I think this was my favorite batch from last year. I thought I liked the C batch a little better at the time, but going back to it, this B batch really holds up. But yeah, this Larsen really comes off with a nice cherry and brown sugar nose. Really sweet as well. Larsen Barrel Proof I can get on the shelf in Virginia And I see it a lot of other places too. It's rarely marked up more than 10, 20 bucks maybe. But if you look hard enough, you can find it at retail price. They make a lot of this stuff, and I'm glad that they do because it is very good. But anyway, well, there you have it. I've given you 5 alternatives to 3 allocated bottles. I think all of these are comparable, if not better, than the allocated bottles that I have connected them with. All right, this is going on way too long. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something. I hope you will give these bottles a shot. They are all excellent bottles. You can't go wrong with any one of these, in my opinion. What do I know? I'm just an asshole on YouTube. That's all I got, guys. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will like it on YouTube. And please take a second to hit the subscribe button. And I will see you next time on Average Joe's Whiskey. Good night.